to all of you who have made this an auspicious day, coming here, spending the whole night chanting the Lord's name. The next part of the program is Lingaabhishekam. One thing, it would be nice to just touch on what, maybe a way of how we can maybe concentrate when we offer these various items. The items can be viewed as being symbolic. However, we'll start off with the lingam. As you know, back in the day, Swami used to materialize the lingam, and one way of saying is there's no beginning and no end. If one was to say, how does God look like, or how does God feel like, there's no description for this. And so the lingam, if you like to say, you can't say it started from here or it ended from here. And that's why you will see this quotation that Uncle Guna often used to mention, liyate gamyate. That means it came from the source and it'll end in the source itself. Similarly, our lives are like this. Our lives, if you think of it, you know, we are constantly taking a breath in and out, and before you know it, just like that pot which has a hole in it, our life is also short. So trying to make it as meaningful as possible is very critical. So if you think of our lives emanating from the source, our breath is very precious. And that's why in many discourses, Swami has often said, try and emphasize and affirm ourselves that we are part of the divine. He always says that, so as you breathe in, so as you breathe out, hum. But we will forget. But today, being Shivaratri, we will be able to focus a lot better. So what prevents us from focusing? If you think of these items one by one, the first item that will be here, brother, can you put the first item? And what would that be? That will be like the curd. If you look at the curd, what is the curd? If you think of curd, is milk that is left out. So it and through the fermentation, it becomes sour. So if you try and focus on all negative qualities that actually prevent us from actually focusing on our communion with the Lord. When we are actually offering the curd, try and think of all, just let go. And when I say negative qualities, don't get me wrong. It can be as simple as us making a criticism on someone. And I think we are all guilty of that, you know. So just try and think of little things. Sometimes we think we are better than someone. Or sometimes we will say, oh, how come so and so said like this? Think of all these little petty things that go through and that cloud us, that prevent us from actually trying to achieve closeness to think of God. So think of this curd as, oh Lord, just get rid of all, whether it's of me telling untruth, or me getting angry, or me getting upset, or getting emotional, etc. So think of that. Okay? Let's get rid of that. Then comes the positivity. What is going to be positive? Think of the next item, brother. That will be the milk. So milk is always fresh. Yeah? You think the milk, from the cow, or if you leave it just long, and we get pasteurized milk, right? So think of the milk as your positive thoughts, which actually help us to get closer to think of God. Then the next item is, still sometimes when you infuse so much positivity, let's say if you infuse so much, you sometimes can be very overconfident sometimes. So you think of the 5 senses, the 5 juices. These 5 senses actually can prevent us. Come, brother and sister, please have a seat. There's no formality whatsoever. 5 juices represent the 5 senses that actually prevent us again from experiencing that closeness. So sincerely pray to the Lord when we are offering these 5 juices to sanctify my sight, sanctify my whatever I hear, sanctify whatever I speak, and whatever I'm eating, and whatever I'm going to use my limbs for. So those are the 5 senses. When you have offered these 5 senses now, all of a sudden, you have the tendency of feeling quite blissful. So that next item is going to be the honey. Honey, atmik, So what does Swami want from us? Swami wants us to actually have the spirit of sacrifice. But why is sacrifice so difficult? Because there is maybe lacking of love. Our love might have some form of condition. For example, I only want to do something for the sake of my children. For example, I'll only do this or go away if I want to do something for my wife. But if it's someone else, there are conditions attached to it. Whereas God's love is very unconditional. There's no strings attached to it. He does it for love's sake alone. So if you think of it as that honey being pure, being so blissful, that you're willing to do everything like as though it's your very own. So that's the pure, as they say, mother's love like that. It's like so unconditional, with the mom, if the mother was to deliver a child, for example, they say, I'll only deliver if you do this. They won't talk like that, isn't it? Yeah, the baby has to come out. There's no conditions attached. No matter what the suffering is, the baby has to come out. How the baby comes out, there's no attachment. I'll only be your mother if you are this. No. There's no strings there. So similarly, God also, love is so ever forgiving. Yeah, if you think of it like that. So that's that. And then finally, as our breath is moving on, the last thing is, every being's final destination is ash. And that is our remembrance, to know that whatever material or whatever attachment that we have is a constant reminder to say that at the end of the day it's going to be ash. Let me not have any attachments, and let me try to be as blissful as possible, regardless what the circumstances is. So if we focus and try and offer today's Abhishekam today, collectively, hopefully we will then achieve what Swami wants from the Shivratri. If you might say, why are we actually praying to a form or a lingam? Another way to look at it is, if I were to just look at this guitar, for example, it's just a guitar, right? But then I got your attention, how? By actually speaking and showing my hand towards it, and you saw the guitar. Similarly, when we look at the photo, or if you think of lingam, or if you happen to go to a temple, actually it's that split second that actually gives us remembrance of the God, of God. Otherwise, if you look at the phone, for example, I don't think you'll actually, oh my God, Swami, wow, look at this beautiful. You won't say that, right? So similarly, think of this, it's not that we are praying to the lingam. Think of it as your compass. Think of this lingam as a compass for us to focus and because today, planetarily, Mahashivratri, it makes it easier. So Sairam,